All right. Hi. So today we have a special guest with us. Mary and I have been friends in the business for quite some time now. Mary Karakashian, and she's a stager and owner of Unique Home Staging and Design. And Mary, how long have we known each other now? It's
Well,
probably coming up on
almost
10
10
years.
years, I think.
Yeah,
Crazy.
in a long time.
Yeah.
And so, Mary, do you want to just kind of talk to us a little bit about who you are, why you got started in the business, and we'll take it from there?
Awesome. Okay. Well, hi, everybody. Again, my name is Mary Karakashian, and I'm the owner of Unique Home Staging and Design. Believe it or not, I will be celebrating my 10th anniversary next year. I can't believe it. And before that, I actually spent about 10 years staging products and to sell. And when that business that I was working with shut down, of course, I was so sad. And I love the real estate world. I love decorating and design. So I kind of was trying to figure out like what I wanted to do with what I loved and my skills. So for doing, marketing for so long, and came across home staging, and I just fell in love with the idea. And I thought that between what I had learned from selling the products and the marketing of those, with my business background, it was like a perfect fit. And I love the fact that it's decorating, but in a different way, and it's fast and quick. So it's not working with specific clients' tastes and wants, but really highlighting and showcasing a home for sale and marketing it. So that I just fell in love with that idea, and that's why I got into it. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me and why I got started.
Yeah, so we love your work and we are going to show it. Every time I see a before and after of yours, I just wish that I could have you come over and do my house room by room for me.
This is true. She said this morning, unscripted.
Yeah.
I love your style and your eye for space and everything.
Thank you.
So let's tackle, I think, the biggest topic that we talked about that we would, and that's why does home staging make a difference?
Sure.
So
Okay.
you can start and then we can kind of chime in as we have questions.
Sure. So home staging, for those who are not really familiar with what it's all about, it's really a key marketing tool when you're preparing a home for sale. So your buyers are always going to be looking most of the time online, as we're always online these days, and they're searching for their next home online and looking at photos. So when a home is not staged, whether it's empty or whether the owners live there and they haven't really quite prepared their property, it's not going to look so great to those potential buyers that are viewing online. Not to say that it's, they're not going to come in and look at the property, especially depending on the demands of the market. And, when they need to buy the home, they might, not care, and they're going to go and see a property no matter what. But preparing the home for sale is going to yield you your best return on any investment that you make in staging. And it doesn't even have to be anything all that expensive. For sellers that are living in their home, they can simply just do some simple things like decluttering their home, depersonalizing it, and really giving it a good cleaning. And even take some pictures at home and take a look at your phone or your photos and say, does this look good? Because this is what's going to go out there, out in the world, to sell my home. And I want the most for this property, which is most people, it's your biggest investment you've made. So,
Right.
yeah, so, those are some things that sellers can do when they're living in their home. And when I say declutter, it's like, what can I get rid of? Is there too many accessories out? Do I have too much furniture out? And so that you really want to market each space and showcase each space as best as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then depersonalizing, you've probably, heard it before, take down your personal photos and certificates and things like that, because we really want buyers to see themselves living in that house, not what your story is. And then cleaning. It's like the easiest thing you can do, but it drives me crazy when I look at photos and I see dishes in the sink, or there's just a mess everywhere, like kids' toys.
Sometimes people, I've noticed in some listings, there's people walking around.
Yeah, I know, that's so crazy. It's like, did you not know the photographer was there?
Right.
And just silly things like, don't leave the toilet seat up because nobody needs to see the inside of the toilet.
Right.
So just things like that. And so of course staging does make a difference. So when you're living in your home, those are things that you can do to really make sure that it shines and looks good for your photos as well as people coming through. And then for vacant homes, some people say, well, isn't it better for me to just show the house empty, without anything in there? But the problem is about 85 to 90% of people can't visualize an empty space. Yeah. So, when they see the photos online, especially like a bedroom, when you see a photo of a bedroom, you don't know, is that the master? Is that just one of the other 3 bedrooms? Like, you don't even know what that space is. And there's really nothing that defines it for you, or even tells you, is it a small room? Like, could I even fit a queen size bed in there or whatever? So people can't visualize those spaces. And if you're searching online to look for a house, I'm sure that potential buyer is going to really stop and look at a home when the pictures are great and they are, the home is presentable, whether it's staged or just, in better shape, to really kind of think about, okay, this house looks like a potential home I might want to make an offer on. I could see my furniture fitting in here. So it does definitely help online. And then, of course, as those buyers go through the property, number one, I always say, is it gets you emotionally. Because when you walk into the home, if that home is empty, you're just going to get a cold kind of feeling. Sometimes it's really cold because it's winter and nobody's turned on the heat. But you just don't get that feeling of warmth. So, when the home is staged, they walk in and they instantly feel an emotional connection to that home, which is what you want because it's a home and you always want to feel comfortable and that emotional connection whenever you come home. So, that is number one, I feel really that an empty home cannot really convey. And then secondly, it helps people visualize how their furniture is going to fit based on the scale of the furniture that's there, and how it's positioned. Because I've staged so many homes that you think like it's very obvious. Okay, this is where your sofa is going to go, and with dining table here and there. But lots of times, especially these open floor plans these days, buyers can't see. Well, I can't tell. This is so open. Like, where do I define my living room? Where do I define the dining room? Like that. So it definitely makes a huge difference when it's staged. And even if it's not set up exactly that they're going to do it because they want their TV on this wall versus this wall, it at least gives them something to use as a reference and figure out. But when it's completely empty, sometimes buyers don't even know, can I fit this couch? Can I fit this table? And so on. So in that sense, that's where I think the staging makes a huge difference emotionally, visualizing. And what happens is when you have those, key ingredients together, those potential buyers are more likely to make an offer, spend more time in the house because they're, connecting to it, and want the house. So when you want something, you want to pay more, right? So get higher bids coming in and those multiple offers coming in because people are coming in and they're like, oh my God, no, I want it. No, I want it. Yeah. So you get into a lot more. And yes, it happens even when the homes are not staged. But I think that there's, a bigger difference in percentage when the homes are staged to get that kind of reaction and those results that you really want. So any questions? I'm trying to think if I covered the main things.
I don't think I have any questions. It was just all really good information. So I'm like the 90%. Like, I am a very visual person, So
Yeah.
that's like the wow factor for me is the staging. Like
Hmm.
that does make me like want that.
Right.
So just agreement with everything pretty
Yeah.
much that you just said.
Awesome.
So when you get a referral to stage a house, walk us through your process from whatever point that you want to forward.
Yeah, so I try to keep the process fairly simple. I either go and take a look at the property, or sometimes they'll send me pictures and a video. And I basically price it out and tell them, what it's going to cost to stage the key rooms. And lots of times people ask me, like, do I have to stage the whole house? And the answer, in my opinion, is no. I think that you need to stage key areas and any kind of tricky rooms, or really like those rooms that are just, key areas, meaning those are the selling points of the home. So, your basic living room, dining room, kitchen, if there's a family room. Offices these days, obviously everyone's working from home, those are important rooms too. Master bedroom, I think, are key rooms, of course. Secondary bedrooms, I don't usually, sometimes people want to stage them, but I don't say that, I feel like you need to spend the money and do that. And any selling, other selling rooms, like a sunroom, of course, something like that, you really want to showcase those spaces. So I put together a proposal based on, my suggestions on which rooms to stage, and I give people options and break it out. So this way they can kind of decide, based on their budget, where they can spend the money. And then once they say, okay, we're, go ahead, then we talk about getting them on the schedule. And I try to keep the process, easy on their end. I get access to the home, and we schedule the staging date. And then the fun part begins on my end, where I'm actually designing and pulling together the pieces that I want to use for that house. And sometimes I don't have it, so I have to shop, or, whatever I need to do to get it all together. And then, that's the fun part. This is where the magic happens here at the warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you've never been to Mary's warehouse, you definitely need a tour at some point. It is so fun and amazing. I mean, I'm a pillow lover, so.
The pillows, my pillow aisle is my favorite.
We do have a quick audience question if you're open to it.
Sure.
Rob is asking, do you normally try to use neutral color furniture or furniture that stands out?
Great question.
That's a great question.
Yes, so I try to use neutral furniture and add color with accessories. One, because if I got color furniture, it would only last me for whatever that trend is at the time. So I really try to, and also I don't want, when I stage a house, it's all about the house. Like, I want the staging to look great, but it's really about highlighting the home and the home's features. So really, I try to tie in a lot of the finishes, if there's any particular finishes. So, in some sense, like the furniture, say like a coffee table set, that might be black, or that might have, gold or something like that. But as far as like the big pieces, sofas and chairs, that kind of stuff, that I always stick with neutral for the most part. On occasion, I have a couple of them that are like blue, or trying to think if I have any other colors, like I might have a grays, of course, and whites and tans mostly. So, but yeah, it's a great question. So mostly neutral furniture, because we want to really highlight the home, and just add some color with accessories.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think this is a great time to show before and after pictures of the project that you did. So if you could walk through.
Sure.
You could walk us through this home.
Yes.
As we
a great home.
Photos.
Okay. Let me see here. I'm going to flip back. Oh, I don't want anyone to see these, but okay. All right. So I'll just start with the first picture.
Okay. So just to give you a little background, this was a home that I met with the sellers It was an estate home. So I met with the sellers as well as I think 4 of the children, which was a little overwhelming, but
wow.
I love working with the sellers. And they wanted to know, we started off with a staging consultation because they planned to empty the home, but they wanted to know what they can do to prepare the home for staging and then selling, and what updates they can do. And I gave them a long list of items, but of course budget comes in mind, so there are certain things that they will do and other things they won't do. So in this case, this is a before and after of, I think this is the master bath. So you could see that they updated the sink, and they painted, I believe they glazed the tile on the walls, but they left the floor.
I was wondering about the tile because I was like, okay, that looks so much better.
Yeah.
But it looks the same, sort of. So they glazed it. Okay.
Yeah, it's not like they, little things make a big difference. They changed the lighting. It's a little hard to tell unless you look in the mirror, but you could tell that they had a shower curtain up in that small stall, and they changed it, and they put a glass, as well as they glazed the tile in there as well. So they made some updates, and it really made a big difference, even though the flooring ended up staying the same.
I didn't know you could glaze tile, so now I have some ideas for a few things over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
What's next? Yeah.
All right. So the first picture on the top left is this was the main living room. So when you walked in the house on your right, this was the main living room. It was a big room, and they wanted to know if there was anything that they should leave behind for staging, and I said no. So very nicely. They because also too, when furniture's there and it's dated, it's really hard to kind of blend in and bring in newer items to make it work and look good. So sometimes it's just better to just sort of empty and give it a blank slate. So what they did here was, obviously they emptied it out. The floors were great, but you can't really tell in the first picture because there's so much on the ground, but they redid the flooring and painted, took down the curtains, took everything out, and then the picture there in the middle is it staged. So you can see like it's just just showcases. Now, of course, just so you know, like the flooring, the picture with it empty, the lighting was different. That's why the flooring looks different at the bottom, but that's what the flooring was. It was the top right flooring. It just looks like my photo. So, but so great transformation there.
Wow.
And I can see what you're saying with the neutral, furniture, but the little pops of color with the plant and on the table. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so it's so soothing, the colors you use. That's what I always feel like, so makes me feel so soothed.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. People feel comfortable when they walk in the house. So
yeah. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay. So can you see that?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yes. So the dining room again, top left, they had furniture in there. So they removed everything, put in a new light fixture, painted, and again, the flooring was redone in there as well. And then, the one in the center there is the staged photo. So again, you can see it gives people a better visual. It feels more updated, and this was now the only main dining space in the house, so we really didn't want it to be too formal, so that people see that they can use this space every day if they needed to.
I think I would buy a house for that light fixture.
I know. So
I think I would buy the house for that light fixture.
Oh. It's amazing.
Did you help them pick out the fixture?
No, actually they were pretty good. They picked out most of the stuff themselves. They did, I think a couple times they came back and forth and just asked, is this okay or whatever, but I think for the most part they were picking out the items. I think I gave them a paint suggestion and and a couple little things. So
it's perfect. Okay, let's see what's next.
I love this one.
All right. So the kitchen, this was where they really spent the money. And, as people know, kitchen and baths sell properties. Although yesterday, someone shared an article with me, interestingly enough, that talked about how curb appeal has become a hot thing, making sure that, you spend money on your curb appeal because you get that back when you sell your house. So something to think about. But anyway, kitchen, we spend all our time in these kitchens. And so the kitchen, as you could see, was very dated and had, it was very closed in and had the top cabinets there with the little peninsula coming around. So they knew they wanted to open it up. And it did have, you don't see it in that picture, in the before picture, but it did have a little space there for a dining table, but not like a lot of space. So they opted to just really kind of open up the whole area and put a huge island in. So you could see like that bottom right picture that where I staged the kitchen, where it says there was that was originally like a little dining area, and so now they put the island in that you could fit at least 4 people at, and then like I said, the dining room is right there too. So if you needed additional seating, that was there as well. So, but yeah, that was a great update for sure.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah.
Were they sad to leave this kitchen? I'm wondering.
Well, I don't think so, because this was, like I said, an estate home they were selling.
Right. Okay.
No one had lived there for a while. But I'm sure after they did it, they were probably like, "Wow, I need to do this."
Ideas for their next home.
Yeah. So family room, this was a big difference, as you can see, because when I first went to look at it, they had the dark paneling, and they had this great fireplace that was sort of like hidden back there with the bookshelves. So here I told them that, I would suggest they paint over the paneling, which gives almost like a shiplap look these days, so it's kind of nice to do that. It's a lot easier to paint it than to like have to, drywall it and completely, redo the wall. So just by painting it, and again, they did the flooring in there. I think they changed out the window because it was cracked. I was kind of hoping they did a little bit more painting around the fireplace, like the bookshelves a little bit, to brighten it up, but it's okay. When we staged it, it looked a lot better, and just kind of accessorizing it, really kind of showcased it. And I think a lot of people love the built-in bookshelves these days. So, especially if you love to decorate, because it's more spaces, right?
Yeah.
And then the way we staged it, really sort of anchored that fireplace in that area. So again, it may not be necessarily the way somebody else would set up their furniture, but for showcasing that space, that's the way I felt best. Because as the picture is taken is from like the entry of the room, that you really don't have that many other choices as far as walls go. So. But yeah, that was a big transformation in that room.
Yeah, so updated. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I think there's one more probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the bedroom, okay, it was, I think, painted like a light blue, and it had old carpeting, like a baby blue carpeting, and of course, so I asked them to remove all the furniture. And they painted it, and they ripped up the carpet. And I believe, because this home is older, I believe the hardwood was already underneath the carpet, which is like an amazing find, right? Again, they had it redone with the rest of the house, and it looked amazing. And it was just so much brighter, and just staging it with, again, the updated furniture, really showcased that space. And they had a queen in there, and it was a big room. So we actually staged it with a king bed, and there was still room. So, that was a nice change for sure.
Wow. That looks so amazing.
Yeah. Thanks.
Are those all of our pictures?
That's
our
all of them.
That's the house, right?
That might be it.
We run through the house. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
Yeah. Vacant homes, you can tell. If you're not going through, like, obviously with a lot of the investors I work with, they've already done all the updating, and I come in and it looks beautiful, and I have a plate to work with. So And I just stage it again to kind of really showcase those spaces and highlight it so that it looks great for people. So.
And then you've probably dealt with difficult areas so many times now at this point, right? Like sometimes like there's just an awkward area in the house that like I wouldn't know what to do with, but now just being through it so many times, it probably comes very easily to you.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that I see a lot of over time is really big rooms. People don't know what to do with, like, especially when it's like a really long room. So I think when you stage those, it really is people. And our tendency is really to like put all the furniture against the walls because you want like the most space. But then it just really feels like, just doesn't feel cozy, and everything's sort of disconnected. So when I go and look at a space, especially a challenging room like that, you want to find the balance. And it's okay to bring your furniture in from the walls. It doesn't have to be up to the wall. It doesn't mean that you're not using wasted space or something like that. So I think that that's one of the, rooms that I come across sometimes is challenging. Other times it's just awkward rooms that may have been renovated, and now it's like, well, what do I do with this? It's too small for a bedroom, so I might make a great office. And staging spaces like that. Trying to think of what else I've come across. And I think just like the open floor plans, because I do so many of those, really just defining those. And making sure that people can see, this is your living space, this is your dining space. And one thing that, unfortunately, both builders and anybody who renovates, one challenge I constantly see is the light fixture is never really in the right place.
I know.
So
we have
and I'm like, well, the dining table is not going to be centered under that, because really, like, it'll be like in the kitchen otherwise, or bumping into the space. So I, just have to stage it where the table really should be, and I will let the sellers know either, move the light, or it's just going to look the way it is until the buyers decide to move it the way it should be. But I find that over and over again, and it's something so simple, but for some reason it's a lot of houses they're not placed right. So
we have that going on.
A challenge for me, because it drives me crazy when something is not centered. I'm like, oh
right.
my God.
Yeah. So we talked about this. Well, first of all, I want to mention, how do we find you like on social media? It's Unique Home Staging and Design, right? Facebook and Instagram?
Yes.
Unique
Both.
Home Staging and Design.
So
check Mary's work out. She always posts her work, her before and afters. And if you love before and afters like I do, then you'll just enjoy that page in general overall.
Yeah.
And then
great with Instagram. I have to get better at it, but Facebook, I'm always posting, like, pretty much all of my jobs, and people can see my, samples of my work out there. So.
And then, so how do people usually get to you? It's usually through their realtor? Is that mostly?
It depends. I think most of the time I'll get a call from either the realtor, or if it is an investor, there are usually ones reaching out. On very, very few occasions, I've actually heard directly from a seller, which is nice, because that means that the seller, knows about staging and they were interested in finding out more. So occasionally I do get a message from a seller. Lots of times with sellers, they're going to be living in their home, so they just want they need me for the consultation. When I go out there and spend a couple hours with them, and go room by room and tell them like what they should get rid of, what they should do, and give them a written action plan, and they find that super helpful. So for sellers, that is a great way to help get you on the right direction, on the right path to getting your house ready for sale. But yeah, for the most part, like I said, people just reach out, either through my website, Facebook, or
Okay.
call me, whatever, to get a hold of me.
And so with sellers that are listing the house, not investors, are they usually pretty compliant, as in they take the list and they tackle it pretty fast? Or do you get a little bit of everything?
That's a great question. When I meet with the sellers, I would say 9 times out of 10 they've been very open to my suggestions and understand where I'm coming from. Now, whether they do them all is another, that's up to them. Sometimes I'll go back and see the listing and I'm like, oh, good, they listened. I see the pictures. And then
Yeah.
oh, they didn't move that chair. I wanted them to move that chair. Sometimes most of the time they do, follow through with the suggestions, but on occasion they don't. And especially if it's something big that I've suggested, I'll point it out to them. Like sometimes I'm called in very soon to when they're going to list. And so if I really wanted, like if my suggestion is going to be, I really feel like you need to paint, move wallpaper, but they're going to be listing next week and it's not going to happen. I'll just point it out to them and I'll say, look, just so you know, you may, go ahead and list it because that's what the plan is, but you may get that feedback. And you may have to reassess things if your house is not selling. So at least they know it might be a problem. Whether it becomes we have to take the house off the market and do thinking, or whether it becomes just sort of, we'll knock off a couple $1,000 off, price or something like that to accommodate for, say new carpets or painting or whatever it is. So, but yeah, it's great when sellers follow through, and most of the time, like I said, they do. They just need help. They need guidance, because when you say declutter and depersonalize, they don't know. Like sometimes they overdo it. I've gone into homes where they've taken down and removed too much, and now I'm like, well, you really needed some furniture in this room, and now it's really like it's better to look empty than putting 2 chairs in here.
Yeah.
And
then
that's
Mary. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's one thing that drives me crazy with when I look at some listing photos and I see sort of somebody trying to stage. Sometimes it ends up working against you than really helping, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then so if someone stages their house and then they go under contract, how long do you leave is it like, okay, they're under contract and then you do destage pretty fast? Is that how that works?
Usually I will wait until closer to closing, because you never know, as a mortgage person, you never know what can happen.
Yeah.
Deals fall through all the time, and or if the sellers back out or whatever it is. So as long as they have time in their contract to keep the home staged, I try to keep it there as long as possible, and then try to pick up like the day or two beforehand. Or sometimes the sellers will say, no, we're good, we've got commitment letter, we're comfortable, go ahead and pick it up, and if we have the time in our schedule, we'll just pick it up. So but yeah, usually I tell people, like, keep it close to closing if you can, or close to the contract end, whichever comes first.
Okay, that makes sense. So do either of you have any questions? I think I covered everything on my list. Do you think we talked about everything we need to, Mary?
Yeah, I think so for the most part. I think one thing you had a possible question on was the virtual staging.
Oh yeah, so I've seen some really bad virtual staging online. Yeah. What do you have to say about virtual staging?
So I don't offer it because I believe in people seeing and feeling like walking into a home. I mean, I think that it works okay for online, like having that versus completely empty homes. But the thing that bothers me, I guess, is that one, I hardly ever see it virtually staged with the right connection to that property. Like I feel like sometimes they're putting in ultra modern into something that you go to look at the home and you're like, this just doesn't go. Like
it's like it's a historic property.
Yeah, it's just not marketing that property well. Like they're trying to market it, like show people what they want, what those buyers want, but it's like, well then, but you've got a very, not modern home and it just looks funny.
Right.
So that bothers me from a design perspective. And then, of course there's some bad ones out there where you see the furniture looks like it's floating. But they're not.
I was gonna have Grace show one of those because like I see some crazy ones where it's just like the living room.
Yeah.
The table like in the middle of the picture.
Not to scale or that, but there's people out there that do a really great job with it. So it's not to say that there's no place for it, but the other thing that I've heard from, especially from realtors, is might bring that buyer in, but then the buyer comes in and they're disappointed because the furniture's not there. And now they're back to I'm trying to visualize again. And you're not going to sit there with your phone and go, oh, okay, couch, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, there's a place for it, but I don't think it's definitely not as effective as true staging, and many times I've been called in after a home was virtually staged and it didn't sell, and then we come in and stage it, and it makes a difference.
I wonder.
It sells.
I
absolutely.
wanted to add that I think home staging was a really big part of us deciding on the home that we're buying. We're buying a new build, so you can't really, it was cinder blocks when I saw the actual home, but we got to walk through a model that was staged beautifully. And I was just thinking, as you were talking, I was kind of remembering, it does help you, see, I can really actually fit a lot of furniture in here. It kind of doesn't look like it when I walk through the actual home and while it's being built, but I remember how it was staged. And okay, we can get a table and a couch in there, and then the other thing I thought of was when we went upstairs, they had the primary bedroom, guest bedroom, and then they had a room with bunk beds in it. And so I remember us getting to that room and we're like, could we see ourselves raising a family in this home? It kind of brings up those questions just based on how they kind of staged the story of this invisible family that lives here. And I think it brought up good, then you think about, well, would future children enjoy the neighborhood? Yeah, I think so, and all that. So I just really love what you get to do. I think that's really, you're like painting such a cool picture for home buyers, and thank you for sharing all of that.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. I really appreciate having me on today. It's a lot of fun.
We'll make sure that we share this video as many places as we can, and if you have any questions for Mary, definitely get in touch with her through social media. Is probably the easiest way. Maybe messaging on Facebook.
Yeah,
probably.
You can email too at mary@uniquehomestaging.com. So
Unique Home Staging, mary@uniquehomestaging.com.
Right.
And I think that's all for today. Thank you so much, Mary, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Great talking to all you guys. I really appreciate you having me on today. So stay warm.
Well, have a great one, and hopefully I see you soon.
Yes, absolutely. All right.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.